Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 5:30, and I will call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. It is our tradition to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us. And welcome, everyone. It's good to see you all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's meeting is being conducted both in person and online. Council members are present along with our staff in the chambers. And members of the public may attend in person, or the public can also watch this meeting online at burnsvillemn.gov/meetings or Comcast channel 16 or 859. The public can also participate through Zoom by joining us at zoom.us/join. More information about the availability of all of our background material is on our webpage and in the council agenda packet. The next item on the agenda are announcements and proclamations. And all of our announcements have to do with all of our upcoming meetings. Regular council meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, June 6th at 5:30 p.m. and Tuesday, June 20th at 5:30 p.m. We have a work session that's scheduled for Tuesday, June 13th at 5:30 p.m. We have a governance meeting that's scheduled for today, May 16th at 6 p.m. And we have a work session scheduled for commission interviews that's scheduled for Tuesday, May 23rd at 5 p.m. And that meeting will be held in Conference Room D. Governance meeting, participatory budget expert testimony will be on Tuesday, June 20th at 6 p.m. All meetings of the City Council is always in the chambers unless I announce a different location for the meeting. This evening is a very special time for us here in the city of Burnsville. We're going to have 6 proclamations, but we also have a recognition for all of our students who have chosen to go into the military. So it's good to see all of the families and our students and our military personnel here in support of those students. So I'm going to read all of the proclamations from that side, and then I will hand it over to retired Colonel Mr. Huddleston. The first proclamation this evening is for Kids to Parks Day. Whereas May 20th, 2023 is the 13th Kids to Parks Day organized and launched by the National Park Trust, held annually on the 3rd Saturday of May. Kids to Park Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoor and visit America's parks. Whereas it is important to introduce a new generation to our national parks. We should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, mellitus, hypertension, and cholesterol, and other ailments that impact youth. Kids to Park Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants. Kids to Park Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors. And now therefore be it resolved that I, Elizabeth Couts, Mayor of the City of Burnsville, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 20th, 2023 and the entire month of May as Kids to Park Day, and urge residents of Burnsville to make time to take the children to their neighborhood park, state park, or national park. On Saturday, May 20th, the Burnsville Recreation Department is offering a free morning of fun at Red Oaks Park from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Kids and families are encouraged to explore Red Oak Park's inclusive playground and new bank shot basketball court. Music, snacks, and refreshments will be provided. Proclaimed this 16th day of May 2023. And I believe that we have someone from Parks that's going to be receiving this. Yes. Thank you. Oops.
I'm not fast enough.
And then next item is Emergency Medical Service, EMS Week. Emergency medical service are a vital public service, and the members of the Burnsville Fire Department are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness and injury. And whereas the emergency medical service system consists of emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, first responders, educators, administrators, and others. And whereas the members of the Burnsville Fire engage in specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas the 2023 theme is where emergency care begins, and it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of our emergency medical provider. Burnsville Fire by designating and celebrating Emergency Medical Service Week. And now, therefore, I, Elizabeth Couts, Mayor of the City of Burnsville, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim in the City of Burnsville the week of May 21st through the 27th, 2023, as Emergency Medical Service, EMS Week, proclaim this 16th day of May 2023. And Chief Jungman is going to be receiving this along with Assistant Chief Neal and all of our firefighters. Yay! Yeah, everybody is here. So what we're going to do, how about if we all get over here and have that photo? Yeah.
Impressive, actually.
So come on, everybody. Yeah.
You're stirring the chili.
Yeah.
Who's the tallest one?
Yeah.
He's right here. He's right here.
No,
Wait,
You're doing good.
The tallest
You're
one.
doing good.
Get over in front of
Doing
Councilman.
good.
There's a tradition
Do you
to come by
have
you.
a spot for them?
Can you see, if you can't see, Raquel,
There we go, now we got it.
No, you're good. We're joking. You're okay.
I need a step stool for you.
One more, please.
Oh, I need to be able to see the camera too.
Thank you.
There is a stool right down there by the podium.
Yeah.
And the next proclamation is National Police Week. Whereas there are approximately 1 million law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Burnsville Police Department. Whereas it is well known and accepted that law enforcement is an inherently dangerous and demanding profession in which dedicated professionals knowingly place their lives in harm's way to protect others who are unable to protect themselves. And whereas the dedicated members of the Burnsville Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Burnsville, and whereas nearly 55,054 assaults against law enforcement officers are reported each year, resulting in approximately 16,260 injuries within the United States. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 26,278 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. And whereas it is imperative that all citizens understand the challenges, duties, and responsibilities and sacrifices of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting citizens against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the City Council of the City of Burnsville wishes to honor all law enforcement officers who, though their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of their duties. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Elizabeth Couts, Mayor of the City of Burnsville, on behalf of the City Council, formally recognize the Burnsville Police Department for their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities and their dedication to our community, and accordingly hereby proclaim May 15th through May 21st, 2023 as National Police Week in Burnsville, Minnesota, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation, proclaimed this 16th day of May 2023. And Chief, if you and all of our officers can all come forward, please. Yeah, and we're all going to do the same drill.
See if it works out. I do.
Can you see?
I can.
Series of pictures of saying, where's Kara? I go, where's Waldo?
I said we had a lot of proclamations. I don't know why May is the month, but it is. So the next proclamation is National Public Works Week. Whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. Whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works system and programs such as water, sewers, streets and highways, public buildings, fleet maintenance, and parks. And whereas the public works maintenance personnel are called upon in emergency situations at any hour of the day or night to clear snow from our streets, keep our water and sewer systems operating, keep our trees strong and healthy, maintain the fleet of operations and emergency vehicles, and prepare our parks, buildings, playgrounds, and facilities for the public's enjoyment. And whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, construction, and maintenance is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skills of public works staff. Whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments are materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. And now, therefore, I, Elizabeth Couts, Mayor of the City of Burnsville, on behalf of the City Council, proclaim May 21st through the 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week, and urge my fellow citizens to observe this period by acquainting themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and recognizing the contributions which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Residents are invited to meet with public works staff and view equipment used in our operations at the Public Works Open House scheduled for Thursday, May 25th from 3:30 p.m. to 7 p.m., proclaimed the 16th day of May. And Are you the only one?
No, we've got a
I
few.
got some help.
You guys can help? Okay, come on, you guys. And what happened to your
Oh, yeah.
department?
He's
Oh,
still
yeah. There we go.
He's got it's still very
Oh,
important
yeah.
help.
Yeah.
And the engineering department's very well represented.
Okay.
Yes.
Laura, a little bit my way for Brian.
Are you kidding me?
The tallest always goes in the middle.
One more. I do have you guys hidden.
You really can't. You really can't make that up.
I still can't see Councilman
Just every time.
The picture will turn on.
I
There
love
we
it.
go.
It's- You can absolutely
Yeah.
Step up and get that foot off the ground.
And the next proclamation has to do with Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Whereas Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month recognizes the historical and cultural contributions of individuals and groups of Asian and Pacific Islanders descent who are a diverse and growing population that make up about 7% of the total U.S. population. And whereas the American story, as we know it, would be impossible without the strength, contributions, and legacies of AAPIs, who have helped build and unite this country in each successive generation. From laying railroad tracks, tilling fields and starting businesses, to caring for our loved ones and honorably serving our nation in uniform, AAPI communities are deeply rooted in the history of the United States. And whereas Asian American and Pacific Islanders make our nation more vibrant through diversity of cultures, language, and religions, there is no single story of the AAPI experience, but rather a diversity of contributions and enrich our culture and communities. And whereas we recognize and honor the many ways that AAPI people have enriched the fabric of our society, while also rededicating ourselves to advancing inclusion, belonging, and acceptance for all AAPI communities. And whereas the City of Burnsville is proud to honor the history and contributions of AAPI people in our country, in our community, and throughout our state and our nation, I, Elizabeth Couts, Mayor of the City of Burnsville, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2023 to be Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the City of Burnsville, and urge all citizens to recognize and participate in its observance, proclaimed this 16th day of May 2023. And our last proclamation will be the also proclamation where it transitions us from me to retired Colonel Huddleston. This is for Burnsville Yellow Ribbon recognition of students entering the military. And thank you to all of our military officers who are here in support of these students. Thank you for coming. Whereas the United States military supports the freedom upon which our country was founded, and whereas entering in the military is a noble and important career choice, almost 2.5 million people serve in the active and reserve branches of the military. And whereas the Burnsville Beyond the Yellow Ribbon organization is a nonprofit volunteer organization dedicated to supporting our nation's military, which includes the local active duty, Guard, Reserve, and military veterans communities. And whereas the Burnsville Beyond the Yellow Ribbon volunteer forces assist active duty military members, veterans, and their families with household chores ranging from babysitting, cleaning, to household maintenance. And whereas Burnsville Beyond the Yellow Ribbon also connects veterans with state, local, and federal organizations who provide assistance to veterans who are looking to enter the workforce upon completion of military service. And whereas the Burnsville and Savage communities join with the Burnsville Beyond the Yellow Ribbon organization to honor students who choose to enter the military. And whereas the United States Congress in 2004 passed a resolution proclaiming May as National Military Appreciation Month, a special month to honor both those in and out of the military. And now, therefore, I, Elizabeth Couts, Mayor of the City of Burnsville, on behalf of the City Council, proclaim May 14th through the 20th, 2023 as Military Appreciation Week, with a special emphasis on students who have selected careers in the military, and urge my fellow citizens to observe this period by thanking young people in our community who have chosen to enter the military profession in support of our freedom, health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Proclaimed the 16th day of May 2023. Colonel Huddleston. And now, and we have so many of our partners who are here. Do you want to introduce our partners who are here to help us honor our students?
Yep.
And we're going to, so when
we
we
gotta
all
get-
have when we have everybody, I'll also, you'll have our,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
Okay, so
all right. Well, welcome. Good evening. My name is Mike Huddleston, and I'm the volunteer coordinator for Burnsville Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. I'd like to start out by thanking the students here this evening for serving our country in the military. This is a job you are going to love and also hate at the same time. The military will test you physically and mentally and push you to perform in ways you never thought possible. Military service will also give you the career that you've always dreamed of, but not before you've earned it. A little story about my dream being in the military. As the mayor said, I'm a retired helicopter pilot for the military, and now I walk. There was just one story. When I was in college, the Air Force, where'd she go? The Air Force wanted to recruit me, and I passed all the tests, and I was going to be a pilot. And so the recruiter came to me and said, well, we got a plan. And I go, what's that? And they go, well, you're going to be a backseater. And then if you want, in a couple years, you can go to the front. And I said, I ain't doing 600 miles an hour and not driving. So I didn't go to the Air Force because of that. But anyways, so my advice to all of you is to stick to your dreams. It might change as you go along, but never give up on fulfilling your passion to serve in a job that you will thoroughly enjoy. It ain't gonna be easy, I'll tell you that, but it's worth everything you put into it. I'd also like to thank the parents and the family members who are here tonight. This is a big deal, and that's why we have it here for your child. Thank you for trusting us to take care of your children. Military families are very important to us. Parents, make sure to call or text, leave voicemails, and send cards, letters, and packages. If you ever have a time when your son or daughter is not responding, here's a good way to do it. Send them a letter and say, Fido's doing good, your sister's doing good, everything's doing good, and I hope you enjoy the check that I sent. And don't send a check. They will call you right away. Look at Vince. Vince, it probably happened to Vince. So,
It never came.
yeah, so if they're not, they're busy, but if they're not getting back to you, do something like that and you'll get their attention. And I'd like to thank the many community organizations gathered here with us tonight. The Burnsville VFW, Howard, and Bob, that's right. The Burnsville Savage Lions, back there with the purple in the back. The recruiters from each branch of the service. I see you guys there. I see you guys there. and all of the businesses that donated the food for our reception after tonight's presentation. They are an integral part of our Yellow Ribbon Network and help us do our job of supporting the military. And we wouldn't be here tonight without the city of Burnsville, which became a Yellow Ribbon city in 2013, and of all of our elected and appointed officials. We appreciate the help and support of the city to make sure the Burnsville Yellow Ribbon mission is carried out for veterans, military members, and their families before, during, and after deployments. This is our 7th year that we've come to the City Council meeting to recognize students with Burnsville High School. To date, we have recognized nearly 100 students. I'd also like to thank Janet Williams, the mayor of Savage.
Yeah.
And at this time, I would have said, and the police chief, Rodney Sewer, but sent his representative there, so. For attending this event. They've been here with us every year since we started this tradition, and we sure appreciate your support too. Now let's get on to the formal recognition. Tonight we have some items for each student, one of which is new this year, a red, white, and blue honor cord for each of you to wear with your cap and gown on graduation. And yes, we got permission from the school, right, Marcia? From the school so that you guys can wear it. Oh, okay. So it goes like this. I know I had one that wasn't this color, but that's okay. But from the school, so you're gonna get that. And so please wear it during your graduation, because that's something that is recognizing that you are going in the service. Okay, without further ado, what's gonna happen is I'll call the names, and then you guys come up. Howard is the president, and he'll give you a flag, and then the mayor and my wife will help. Who are you? Oh, the mayor, yeah. The other mayor, come on up. Come on up, Mayor.
And then we'll take photos with everybody also.
Yeah. Okay. So, Cara, I would have started with the Air Force, however, we didn't have anybody, so going in the Air Force. So I don't know why you're not helping me.
You know, it's just so dang hard to get into the Air Force,
I know
unlike
it.
all the rest of the services that just take anyone.
I know it.
I don't know.
You gotta have 2 pockets to get your hands
I
in.
see the recruiters going, no.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start with the Marine Corps. Okay, the first one, Hamdi Abdi. Come on down. Are you here?
Yes.
Oh, she's here? Yep. And she's from Savage.
Yes, he is, yes. So,
We have already recognized her. Yes. Thank you so much for your service.
congratulations. So we're gonna have you stand in the middle, and then we'll take photos.
Yeah,
with
so
everybody.
you're not done yet. Charlton Fan? Did I pronounce your name right? Okay.
Down here. Charles? I'm gonna hand you a lot of stuff, sorry.
Okay. Okay, the next one, Kyle Lafari. Did I pronounce it right? Lafree? Okay.
And then if you can stand.
Over there. Denise Garcia Fernandez. Gotti. Next one is Gotti Nolasco Olson. Okay, the last Marine, I think, is Francine Hadley. Okay, the next one, now we're gonna go to the National Guard. Michelle Hernandez. Is she here? Okay, not here. And Dylan Baston, not here. Kristen Hernandez. The next one is Ashley Gonzalez. What is it? I was gonna say tequila, but, yeah.
And congratulations.
The next one, Patsy Labardi. Labardi. Oh, not here, okay.
Here's a challenge from our police department and congratulations.
So that's it, right? Or, no, I'm sorry. Yep, we got one more. Yep. Yeah, this is a first for us. Collins Went. So the reason why it's a first for us, this is a homeschooler, that is going in the service and we didn't know. So, now we do.
I thought you were gonna say it was going into Space Force. It's coming, isn't it?
I know it. We got everyone, so that's it, I think, right?
And if we could have our military personnel and also Marcia from the school district.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're taking a photo, everybody, so.
Oh, they did.
Okay, come on.
No, go ahead. I don't,
You have to be,
I don't have to be nothing.
yes, you do, yes, you do, yes, you do. Nancy,
That was pretty in all of that. That's my
We need the wide angle lens.
We are. More than a step stool. Please be careful, Raquel.
the short one.
Come in the center.
Did you get everybody?
Not quite.
I crushed the wings in.
Perfect.
Was he a parlay? Okay, okay.
There's a gal in the back that's gonna be completely hidden.
Get everybody?
Oh, come in a little bit closer now. I almost had everybody.
People can come back here.
Yeah, let's get,
She'll be seen.
there's a young lady in the back row that's completely
Oh,
black.
yeah, get him.
Come up front. Come up front.
There we go.
How about some more front? There we go. Perfect. One more camera. Go ahead. Go ahead. I think we got it.
Perfect.
Okay, so, everybody but the city council can come down and have some food downstairs. Oh, no, I'm sorry, you guys gotta work. But yeah, so those that, family and, friends, downstairs, so we got all kinds of food, okay? All right.
Bring us leftovers.
We got leftovers.
See you later. Thanks again.
So Carl, can you explain that you got a helicopter to do 600 miles an hour? I know. But you said you didn't want to be in the Air Force because you wanted to drive.
Did you
Now
go to the Marines
drove.
because you didn't want to fly?
Okay, the next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. And we have Mr. Edwards from the Minnesota Youth Sports who would like to address us. Mr. Edwards, please come forward. Yeah, you can be there, yeah, because everybody is, yeah.
Good evening. I don't know if you guys got this form over here, but I'm here to represent the youth for the state of Minnesota. We have an event this year with the NFL and the Viking and high school leagues.
It's gonna take time.
So the city councils already have this information if you need any question or anything. But this is for all kids in the state of Minnesota for the NFL Combine, the Minnesota Rugby. It's the first time we hosted in Bloomington. I know Elizabeth, 7 years ago, I retired from the NFL and also the Viking. But this past December when they had a Christmas party, I run into a whole bunch of mayor and a police department and a highway patrol. So I told them I'm gonna check with my wife and make sure it's okay for me to do this again. But, you know, we have like 7 cities already in this, and the event is on July 8th. They're hosting at Jefferson High School. It's free for all parents and all kids. The Viking coaches and also their mascot, they're gonna be there to help out. And it's nice to have your child or kids to come and participate, get a real nice try for the NFL, because what you got to lose is free. There's no cost, and also, like I said, have a lot of gift to give away to the kids. But if any question, I got another meeting to go to, Edina, but I want to thank Burnsville for the time I can, and let me know if you guys have any question. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? Okay, thank you. We will move on. The next item on the agenda is additions to the final agenda, and this is for emergency items only. City Manager Lindberg, are there any emergency items to come before the council?
Nothing from staff, Mayor.
Members of the council? Then we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item on a consent agenda can be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item on a consent agenda to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Mrs. Collins, is there anyone on Zoom?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Members of the council? You're on a consent, no additions to the final agenda? Okay. Consent agenda is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item on a consent agenda can be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone who wishes an item to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Okay, Mrs. Collins, anyone on Zoom? City Manager Lindberg, does staff want to pull an item from the consent agenda?
Nothing from staff, Mayor.
Members of the council, may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And a motion carries. And we are now on the regular agenda. The first item on the regular agenda is a public hearing. This is a resolution adopting the assessment for 2022 for the HOC Streetscape Operations and Maintenance. Presenting this evening is our city engineer, Jen Desarut. Mrs. Desarut.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So I have a short presentation on our assessment hearing for the streetscape in the heart of the city. So as you know, we have enhanced streetscape amenities in the heart of the city that take additional maintenance and operations costs and effort. Those are maintaining colored sidewalks and trails, street lighting, enhanced street lighting, banners and snowflakes, boulevard and median mowing and irrigation, and then trees, shrubs, hanging baskets, and other plantings. And these are not a typical area. We do maintenance throughout the city, but this is just a more enhanced maintenance activity. Last year in August, we updated the policy. The council approved that policy, and this is just a reminder of that updated policy. We did have one assessment role under this new policy, and this is the second one. So the areas in blue had previously always been assessed under the heart of the city special assessment. They are directly adjacent to streetscape, and they directly benefit. And so the new policy would be a combination of a street front foot and a building square footage methodology. The ones in pink were first assessed last year in 2022. They were added into the assessment area. They also directly benefit with a combination of the front foot and building square foot. And then the areas in yellow are part of the heart of the city that indirectly benefit. So they're off the main streets, but they do enjoy all of the amenities in the area. As an indirect beneficiary, the assessment methodology is the building square footage only. And then as streetscape is expanded through the district, they would be coming into those other blue parcels as the district maybe expands with the heart of the city streetscape amenities. So in 2022, the operation and maintenance costs were $326,000, and the policy is to assess 50% of those costs, and the city pays the rest. For heart of the city, we had $144,000 in assessments, and that's because the city has some parcels in the heart of the city, and so we are included in the assessment piece of it. So the city portion is more than 50% with our portion of the assessments for the city properties. We have two tiers, so the properties that have the purple frontage are higher amenity tier 1, and their cost per front foot is $4.21. The properties with frontage in green, they still have amenities, it's just not the highest level, so a lower assessment rate of $2.10 per foot. And then everybody, the indirect and direct benefits have a building square footage assessment of 2 cents per building square foot. So a public hearing is required to adopt these assessments. Any objections must be in writing and submitted before the end of the public hearing. So far, the staff has not received any objections, but the public hearing is needed. And after the public hearing, staff recommends adopting a resolution approving all Heart of the City streetscape assessments.
Any questions for Mrs. Desrude? Okay, this is a public hearing. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this item? Anyone in the audience? Mrs. Collins, anyone on Zoom?
No one, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Seeing no one, I will now close the public hearing. Members of the council, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
There is a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. And here's my assessment, like I do
Received, Madam
every
Mayor.
year. After it's done, I give you my assessment.
It's an
You
important.
still use checks?
It is an important part of my job.
Here's the assessment, okay. So it's paid.
On camera and everything.
Yeah,
No, the check has to
Always.
clear first.
That's true.
yeah. The next item is 5B, and this also is a public hearing. This is a resolution adopting 2023 street improvement assessments. Mrs. Desrude.
Thank you. So I have another presentation for this year's street assessment. So 2023 street assessment areas are Nicollet Avenue, Grand Avenue area, Marson Hill, Countrywood Estates, and Philburn. This is a timeline. I'm not going to read through it, but it's just showing all of the points of contact we've made with both the council and the neighborhood throughout the project. And tonight we're having our special assessment public hearing. And then we have this project timeline. Let me go. Oops. Okay. Project timeline that shows this. It's a 2-year process, as we've discussed in the past. 2022 was the scoping and design year, and then we ordered the public hearing, or we had a public hearing to order the improvement in February of 2023. In February and March, we finalized the plans and went out for bids. At your last meeting on May 2nd, the council approved awarding the bid, and construction is already underway. We had a neighborhood meeting. This is returning. We had taken a hiatus during COVID of having a pre-construction meeting, but we're back to doing it, and we had 2. We had one in Terrace Oaks Park with Eva, and then we had one here. We had about 40 residents show up between the 2, and just asking questions about the project and the special assessment. And then tonight we have the public hearing. Construction, like I noted, is already underway and it'll go through the whole summer. And then in October and November, when the projects are substantially complete, we send out a postcard with a survey to get feedback, and also to remind people that we have if the council adopts the assessment roll tonight, they don't have to pay until November 15th. They can pay right after this meeting if the council adopts the assessment roll, but the due date for prepayments isn't until November. And so we just remind people of that if they wanted to pay in advance, that they have until November 15th of 2023. Here's our map of all of the project areas. The ones that are noted in blue are part of the contract, but not assessed. So Villa du Parc and Sunset Terrace are 2 maintenance overlay areas, and they were previously assessed with other projects, and now they're in a more of a maintenance mode. So they weren't part of this assessment hearing, but they are part of the contract and all of the costs that I'm going to note later. We have Villaburn area having a reclamation. Countrywood Estates is a reconstruction. The Marson Hill area is a reclamation, and then Nicollet Avenue and Grand Avenue, those are state aid routes. That's a rehabilitation too. Just as a reminder of what all those mean, the reconstruction is the most invasive, and it is full depth pavement replacement, curb replacement, full curb replacement, and we do repairs and upgrades on sanitary sewer and storm sewer, as well as full water main replacement. And then the reclamation, very similar, full depth pavement, we only do partial curb replacement as needed. We do those utility repairs, but there's no water main replacement. And then the rehab is a 2-inch mill and overlay, and we do look to see if there's any curb replacement needed, and we do any utility repairs as needed. So walking through Countrywood Estates is our only reconstruction area, and kind of repetitive on this slide, but it's the most invasive of the projects and also has the highest assessment. And then we have the street reclamation, the Villaburn and Marson Hill area, and then the street rehabilitation is Nicollet Avenue and Grand Avenue area. For funding, we have taxes or infrastructure trust fund. We use special assessments. The utility funds contribute for the parts of the project that are relevant to those utilities, water, sewer, storm, and street lighting. And then we have 2 state aid routes on the project, and so we'll get reimbursed by municipal state aid for a portion. For special assessments, we use a special assessment methodology that's based on the street width, and that's determined by land use. So for single-family homes, they're typically on the narrowest of streets, and then the multifamily homes are on a little bit wider, and then all other types of properties tend to be on a wider street yet. And then we only assess up to 40% of the street costs, but we use the 3-year bidding average. So the actual assessment is less than 40%. It's typically around 25% of the actual costs when we put it all together, but we use that 3-year bidding average so that it's a smooth transition and doesn't have highs and lows and dips depending on the market. The assessment rate is calculated based on the front footage, and for single family homes we've switched, as you know, to a per unit assessment rate. There's no assessment for utilities or for the other part of the street work, the 60%, or any other work that we do that's not street related. Here is a table that shows all of our rates. And so for the reconstruction single family rate, it's about $4,700 per household. For the reclamation, a little bit under $2,600. And then for the rehabilitation, a little over $1,800. And then multifamily and others, those are still on the front footage basis, and those rates are noted. For assessments, there are different repayment options based on the amount of the assessment. So for assessments under $199.99, it's a 1-year assessment. From $200 to just under $1,000 is a 5-year assessment. $1,000 to just under $2,000 is a 10-year assessment, and then anything over $2,000 is a 15-year assessment with 5.5% interest determined for this year. Like I had noted in the beginning, anyone who wants to prepay and avoid the interest can do so before November 15th, 2023. Typically we get asked, what are other cities doing? There are a number of cities that don't have special assessments: Apple Valley, St. Louis Park, Brooklyn Park, Minnetonka, to name a few. But as far as where do we compare to other cities, we're on the low end with our reclamation assessment. Only Coon Rapids in 2022, these are 2022 assessment rates, was lower. And so we feel like we're pretty competitive with other cities when it comes to special assessments. This slide shows the estimated project costs after the bid. So our estimated total project cost is about $8.7 million. About $1.3 million of that will come from special assessments, a little over 2.1 from the Infrastructure Trust Fund. We have about 2.9 coming from our municipal state aid account, and then just under 500,000 from storm utility and just under 2 million from the water and sewer utility. All total, there's 15% of the total project cost of special assessment. Just to note that maintenance overlay costs are included in these total costs, and those are not assessed. So that's coming completely from these other funding sources. For communication, that first slide I showed with all those touch points, we have had a lot of communication with the neighborhoods. We have a website, we have e-subscribe that if a resident hasn't subscribed yet, they certainly should, and they'll get weekly updates. And then we have 2 dedicated email accounts: construction@burnsvillemn.gov and assessments@burnsvillemn.gov. There's also the notify us button to report any issues. So tonight, this is a public hearing to approve the special assessments for the 2023 street improvements. Again, objections must be written and submitted before the end of the public hearing. And to date, to this time, the staff has not received any written objections.
Any questions for Mrs. Desrude? Okay. So the total cost for all of the reconstruction, reclamation, and rehab is over $8 million.
And all the utility improvements.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the all-in cost.
Yeah. Okay. Because that's everything. When reclamation, you have a slide that talks about what all is included in all of those. Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Mrs. Collins, anyone on Zoom who wishes to speak to this item?
No one name.
Okay. Members of the council, if you have no other comments or remarks to make, I will now close the public hearing. Your pleasure.
Move to approve.
There's a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. We are now with another public hearing, and this is a continued public hearing. This is related to the proposed business assistance to Pacifica Square Burnsville LLC and approval of a sub-grant agreement for use of the Dakota County Environmental Legacy Fund. Presenting this evening is our Community Development Director, Mr. Jeff Thompson. Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We are back this evening to talk to you about the allocation of the county's ELF grant. Just to give a brief background on it, this is a pilot program that Dakota County established the second round of funding back in 2020. Communities in Dakota County that have operational landfills were eligible to apply for this, and the city was awarded in 2020 $1.1 million from Dakota County for the general use for economic development purposes, specifically for redevelopment projects, recognizing the impacts of, or the challenges with redevelopment, with land acquisition, demolition, and repositioning of properties. That's what the project was awarded to. As you know, it was originally set to expire at the end of 2022, our 2-year term on the grant agreement we had with Dakota County, but we received an extension at the end of 2022, as long as we met 2 deadlines. The first being that we identified a project by this May, this month, and that we expended the funds by the end of November of this year. And I'll talk a little bit about that on the action tonight of how that allocation will work to ensure we're complying with the deadlines from our agreement with the CDA and with Dakota County. We have talked about this in a workshop, but earlier this year, Pacifica, the Windfall Group and Pacifica Burnsville has made their land use applications, and those have been approved by the council. They also made an application for use of the ELF funds for assistance on their project at the Burnsville Center. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about the project, but it includes, it's the former Gordman site on the north side of the mall, includes a substantial renovation of the interior, as well as a 2-story expansion to that building, facade improvements, outdoor dining, some plaza, and then also some pedestrian connections that would be constructed all as part of this project. That is the project scope as proposed and for which the assistance is being requested. We held a workshop with the council on April 11th to compare this with another project, and the council at that time indicated moving forward with drafting the grant agreement with Pacifica. And then at your last meeting, you just took the action to proceed this to the board for the project, and that was just to meet the May deadline. Just to maybe go back quickly on the Dakota County ELF funds, which are important, one thing. We have a grant agreement with the county, and it specifically identifies eligible costs, which we address in the sub-grant agreement as well. So we have reviewed the financing request against the statute, as well as the city's economic development policy for financial assistance. We found and included in your resolution, which would approve the agreement, that it does meet a public purpose. And there are 3 public purposes identified. One, the project is located in a priority economic development area and redevelopment area for the city, being that the priority of the council is placed on investment in and around the Burnsville Center area. And And then the other public purposes for the financial assistance are the increases in the tax base. The construction and improvements result in an increase in land value and associated tax base. And then there would be some job and wage goals identified in our agreement to ensure that that gets created as part of the project. And then also in our policy, there are other goals that we are achieving here. There's an increased level of design aesthetic in materials and design of the building. As I mentioned, we have some additional plaza and outdoor spaces that will be constructed, and a pedestrian connection that would be built to County Road 42, and then certainly the uses of the food hall within the building do present some business and entrepreneurial opportunities for our business community in Burnsville. We have had our financial advisor review the funding sources and the financing pro forma for this project, and the two important things are there is a demonstrated need for this project. There is a gap for financing this project in the market, and second, we are confident that this meets the but-for test, that the financing from the city is required for this project to move forward, and but for that financing, it would not. So in your packet, we have a draft sub-grant agreement. This is the document which would be between the city and the developer for Pacifica Burnsville, and provides the funding and terms of that funding going forward. So just to walk through some of the major terms of the agreement, it would provide the full $1.1 million of the ELF grant to the developer to construct the full project. We have established a job and wage minimum requirement. That's a requirement of the state statute. It's also a requirement of our economic development tools policy. So we've identified that. Our policy requires for any project a minimum of 2 jobs. We've worked with the developer, given that this is a retail and grocery and restaurant development. We have a minimum wage of twice in our job goals of twice the state minimum wage. And so just given that and the constraints of the uses, they've identified 10 jobs in our agreement with them. The developer would be required to provide to us, this becomes important to meet the deadline with the county, is by August 1st of this year, they would have to provide us with documents that they have made grant eligible expenses already by August 1st, which we're confident that they can meet. That allows us to then get approval from the county to disperse those funds to us, and that will count, we talked to the county, the county will count that as expending the funds by end of November. We will then hold those in escrow at the city until the full project is completed construction, and then we would release those funds to the developer, assuming that they have complied with all the provisions of the agreement. And the main 3 on that is they've substantially completed construction of the full project. They've paid the grant eligible expenses. They've actually paid them. And then second, we did add a lease up requirement that at least 50% of the rentable area would have to have signed leases so that we ensure some occupancy within the building. And then the agreement also just includes some provisions of default as well as some requirements of the Business Subsidy Act. As I said, a requirement in the agreement is that the full project be constructed, and we would not release the funds until that is completed. The developer is asking to complete the project in 2 phases, phase 1 being the interior remodel, and the second phase being the addition, the exterior facade improvements, and the outdoor space. And so these are the deadlines that we have agreed to with them, that the full project would need to be completed by the end of December of next year, with the first phase being completed by the end of this year. Again, no funds would be distributed to them until substantial completion of the full project. So with that, Mayor, this item the public hearing was continued at the last meeting, so we request that you continue that or hold that public hearing this evening, and then adopt the resolution approving the sub-grant agreement. We do have Libby Kantner here, who's the city's economic development attorney, who's drafted the agreement. If there are questions, there's also representatives of the developer here this evening. With
Okay.
that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Members of the council, any questions for Mr. Thompson? Okay, thank you. This is a continued public hearing, and is there anyone who wishes to address the council on this item? Anyone who wishes to address the council on this item? Mrs. Collins, anyone on Zoom?
I have someone from the developer online, but I don't think that they need to speak at the public hearing.
Okay, very good. With that, I will then close the public hearing. Members of the council, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
There's a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Congratulations. The next item is a resolution rejecting the bids for the Kramer Quarry Reservoir Deepening and Water Intake Project, Phase 1, Bid Package 1, and authorize an engineering contract amendment for the surface water intake angle well scoping study. Presenting this evening is our Public Works Director, Mr. Ryan Peterson. Mr. Peterson.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Thanks for having me tonight. As you stated, this would have, we'd recommending that the city council reject bids for this project, unfortunately. Very brief history. As you know, we've been working with Kramer Mining Materials on managing surface water for years down there. We are always trying to find ways to manage it better, to use surface water for our supply in a sustainable way. So we're looking for projects where we can improve our water quality, gain some redundancy, and also help Kramer not have to pump as much water as they do. So we end up with win-win situations when we can successfully complete projects down there. When Kramer looks to expand their mine, we want to also improve our intake down there. We plan on doing that over 2 phases. Phase 1 would be into the north lobe. That would be phase 1, and then phase 2 would be in the south lobe. So if you're familiar with the site, this is the quarry. This is where water comes in. We currently take water from the south lobe in this area. What Kramer is planning on doing over a period of years is mining out in this area, in the north lobe. Our goal was to put a new intake here to augment the ones we already have, complete that, and then on the south lobe, expand that out after that was mined out. So that's the long-term plan for our intake there. So on phase 1, it would need to be done in 2 bid packages with the proposal that we had, which was we would drill a hole down and then drill a hole out. And then the second bid package would actually put the infrastructure in, the pumping, the house, the intake area. So we had an estimate of $1,150,000 for this phase 1. And unfortunately, the bid came in close to double, $1,950,000. Obviously, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. Associated with the expansion to the mine, Kramer has agreed to basically fund improvements for the water intake. Right now, the current value of that is at $2.4 million. But if we do bid package 1, we still have to do bid package 2, and it's difficult to see a path forward that would keep us under $3 million for the combination. And we financially really need to at least be able to get all of phase 1 done, or very close to done, with the Kramer financing that they're providing to us. So with that, we're recommending rejecting the bids for the project, unfortunately. I put a lot of work into it, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be the best bet for the community, too much risk to take on financially. But there are other methods to do it that were scoped out originally that we would really like the opportunity to dial into a little more, see if we can find something that will both work for us very well, function well, and also be more financially feasible. So that would be the scoping study for an alternative design. So the recommendation, that would all fit into the engineering contract that we already have available. It wouldn't require any new money to do that. We basically would be using the money we were going to use to construct improvements to complete the scoping study here. So with that, I'd stand for any questions, but as we said, it's a resolution, and we'd recommend rejecting the bids and authorizing a scoping study for a different design that hopefully will meet our needs in all respects.
Okay, thank you. Members of the council, any questions for Mr. Peterson? If not, I need a motion to reject the bids.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and a motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Peterson. Yes. The next is a resolution declaring this heritage property a hazardous building. And presenting this evening is our fire chief, Chief B.J. Junkman.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Thanks for your time tonight.
Here to talk about the Seritage property at the Burnsville Center, which is formerly known as the Sears property. And back in December, late December, we had a fire sprinkler pipe burst, which flooded a good portion of the building. And the building has, since then, has had no functional fire alarm system, fire sprinklers, or heat. They brought in some temporary heat that was intermittent through the winter. They told us that they'd have it all fixed in 3 weeks. They've told us it's fixed, but have not provided any paperwork and have not allowed us back in the property to inspect that. And during this process, the city had to shut off water to the building in order for them to repair it. And they've been notified a number of times, both in writing and via email, both via letter, and they have not been responsive to that. We even wrote a letter between code enforcement, building official, and the fire department outlining all the concerns that we have with this building. We've also required a structural analysis since they have not maintained the temperature in that building. That building is intended to be conditioned year-round and it has shallow footings because of that. So we are concerned as it's attached to an occupied building. And the certificate of occupancy has also been revoked for that occupancy, and it's been posted uninhabitable. And again, after numerous attempts to try to get compliance and communication, we have yet to get any real results on this property. I'll show you a quick video of the sprinkler break that was discovered December 27th, just to give you some magnitude. If you look in the upper right, we're talking about their major.
Titanic.
Yeah, it's the main pipe to the fire suppression system. This is not a branch line. This is not a small line. We're talking about the main component to the fire suppression system that was broken. So there's some safety risks I'm concerned about here. Without an operational fire alarm and structural analysis, the building poses a significant safety risk. It's directly attached to the Burnsville Center, which is an occupied building, and the only separation we have is this metal gate. So there is no fire protection between the two. So if the fire protection doesn't work and the fire alarm don't work, it's going to mitigate or spread directly to the Burnsville Center. And like I said, there's been a severe lack of responsiveness from the property owner. So that's why we're before you today. I outlined in the background a number of contacts and emails and records that we have trying to contact the owners. Our proposed next steps are to file a civil complaint to compel compliance with the building and fire code and file a title to provide notice to the potential buyers. This is a similar process to what we did with Parkview Flats. We found that the civil process tends to work well in these cases when they're owned under this type of structure. And then the other piece before you today is a hazardous building declaration. And it's a specific process in statute. It allows the city to make repairs or demolish the building if the repairs are not possible, and it allows the city to recover costs. And that's what the resolution before you today is. And the staff recommendation is to adopt the hazardous building resolution for the Seritage property. And with that, I would stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions for Chief Jungmann? Okay. This is a recommendation to adopt the resolution of the hazardous building for the Seritage property.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Thank you very much, Chief. Members of the council, there are no other items to come before us this evening, and a motion to adjourn is in order.
Motion. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Good night, and thank you for being with us.